Hello, Tungsten Miner here. I have made a little progress on the warehouse, as you can see, and these crates behind me are actually from a whole bunch of exploring that I've done. So I want to walk you through a little bit of both. Let's get started. Okay, since we're here, let's start off talking about this workshop. So as you can see, I'm using cobblestone that has been shaped into these lovely weathered brick patterns from chisel, and I've just got some plain andesite in the spaces in between. Eventually I'll pick a pattern for those as well and probably put in some windows, so this is kind of temporary. I've also got my main workshop room, which is partly complete because I ran out of wood, but I'm going with storage drawers, and I found that I needed some materials that I was missing in order to get the storage drawers controller, this guy. I have the diamond, actually. That's not the hard part. What I need is the quartz for these comparators. And, well, there's only two places to get it in Brunel. One is to take a trip to the Nether, which I'd prefer to avoid, simply because Brunel is trying to be a fairly realistic, real-world kind of place. So magic portals to other dimensions, not so much. On the other hand, Brunel does have an alternate source, which is under the desert. You can find a netherish-like environment, complete with quartz, glowstone, soul sand, netherrack, and of course blazes. So that was the first aim of my trip. The second aim of my trip is I wanted to get a horse because it's gotten really kind of tiresome walking around back and forth to my different installations. I'm just showing you these rooms are empty, but one of these, probably this one, will turn into a room full of stacked chests for overflow inventory, things that won't fit in the storage drawers, basically. And over here, I'll have whatever kind of machines I need for quick access. So for example, if you want an iron nugget in Brunel, the recipe for that is not simple. You need a tool, which does get worn out in order to break up the nuggets, or you can use a metal press in order to get those nuggets. Same thing if you wanted like an iron plate. You can use a tool to flatten the iron nugget, which does get worn out, or you can use the metal press. And this is a theme. There's a whole lot of things that you need a tool that gets worn out, or you can use the metal press. So wires and plates and rods. The other thing is that using the hand tools, you generally get less output. And so it's much, much to your advantage to use a metal press in Brunel. Same deal with using the centrifuge and quite a few other machines, not coming to my top of my head right now. In any case, so that's what that other room will be for. The basement is pretty much as we saw it. The only thing that's changed is I put some torches down there so I don't get lots of stuff growing. Apart from that, though, I needed to go get those materials. I also wanted to find some aluminum. So Moar Boats has this lovely animal boat, which requires some gold plate and requires a modular boat in this mod pack being made with aluminum plate. These are not the default recipes, of course. These are peculiar to this mod pack. But of course, this means I need to go get some aluminum to make aluminum plates out of. And aluminum is found in savanna biomes, not in any of the biomes that are in my general area up here. So I needed to discover a savanna biome because I hadn't found one yet. And I needed to get some quartz. So time for an adventure. I'm going to head over, using creative mode, of course, to go to some of the locations that I found that were particularly interesting. Okay, here we are. I am now standing just outside of my aluminum mine. So I built my standard little cabin here, and I have found a savanna biome. For perspective, here I am in this savanna biome, and you have to go really, really, really far to get back to my home base up here. So I did a lot of traveling and a lot of exploring by raft. And fortunately, now that I'm down here in this biome, I was able to find a nice donkey. And if you keep looking around, the donkeys have different characteristics. So I was able to find one that's pretty much as fast as a horse. Funny enough, I have not seen any horses yet. They also ought to spawn in the Savannah biome, but pretty rarely. So you have to go around quite a bit. And as you can see, this is not a large Savannah biome. So it's not terribly, terribly surprising I didn't find anything. The mine here is pretty much what you'd expect, with one exception that I found kind of interesting, is that as I was digging down and heading down, down to where the optimal level is to find aluminum, I literally intersected with an abandoned mine shaft. And so I started exploring around a bit here, and I ran into some cave spiders down one of these. Yeah, there we are. Down that way somewhere. And eventually was forced to retreat because I did not anticipate having to do any combat here. So I wound up running away. But I also got a lot of rail for my trouble. And so one of those crates that you can see back at my base is actually entirely full of rail, and another one is halfway full of rail. Not from this alone, but from several other abandoned mine shafts that I found elsewhere. Because as you can see, there's also a lot of mesa biomes nearby. So I took my newfound donkey for a ride, went all the way around down here, and picked up some rail that was on the surface up here, so we can kind of see. So I'll head over there and show you what that looks like in a bit. Took my donkey up and around. I had to build this bridge, actually. So let's... what is the teleport command? It looks like there isn't one. I could have sworn there was. Oh well, I'll just have to head over there manually. Be right back. Okay, here we are. So, made a little bridge. I hadn't brought my chisel with me, so ordinarily I would have styled these a little differently, and I ran out of jungle wood, so I didn't quite finish putting the railings on. But you can also see that there's a nice village over here, and I went ahead and grabbed out all of the rail and all of the loot from these different places. There's also a nice greenhouse. So this is an Agricraft Greenhouse. Cleared out all of the seeds from here. These things are immensely helpful because, of course, there are no Harvestcraft gardens anywhere in this world. So if you want to find different crop plants, you either need to develop them yourself using the Agricraft cross sticks, or you need to find them in these gardens. And not surprisingly, it's a lot easier to find them in the gardens. So now let me jump along to the next site of interest. All right, here we are in the desert. So we've gone from this bridge up and around this little ridge of hills to the opening of a cave here in the desert biome. And what I found as I was going along here, I think it was, nope, not this way. Yeah, it's over here. Not that way either. Should have made better notes for myself, shouldn't I? Yeah, I think it is this way. Yep, here we are. So this drops down quite a ways. And as you can see, we're starting to get to where it transitions from overworld to netherworld. And if I go down even further down here, we can see it's starting to get to be maybe half and half-ish. And if I keep going further down, then it will get even more so. I haven't found a natural cave that goes further down, so if I need more nether resources, I'll probably have to go down and dig for them myself. But this whole cave had little crystals, just singletons, onesie, twosie kinds of things of glowstone all the way along, so I didn't need any torches coming in here originally. Also, these little pockets were filled with soul sand. And as we go further and further down, that's it. That's the end of the cave. So I was able to harvest a bunch of netherrack. There was also a bunch of quartz, so I've harvested all of that so far. I also got a bunch of glowstone, so I got a bunch of my nether resources from here, which of course saves you the trip to the nether and makes it so that you can play Brunel in a more natural style, no magic. That was extremely helpful because I got the quartz I needed for making those comparators, which I wanted for, here, since we're in creative, we'll just run right out. Normally I play in survival. It's much more fun to solve those problems when you don't have infinite resources. But when making videos, it's a whole lot easier just to be able to fly around. So yeah, that means I've got what I need for making those storage drawers. I also was attacked by a blaze when I was down there, and attacked by a couple of more blazes elsewhere. I'll fly over this way. So I was over here just picking up loose rail on the surface, and I wound up having blazes spawn basically underneath me in this area down here. And you can see I failed to get all of the gold or all of the track, because all of a sudden I had these two blazes coming after me, one from each direction. And I managed to fight them off eventually, but very nearly got killed doing it. Fortunately, though, that means I have the next resource that I was looking to collect, which is the blaze rods and blaze powders, so that I can make a blast furnace. So your blast furnace in Brunel is the immersive engineering one, which requires some nether bricks. So I picked up some netherrack and some regular bricks. So I've got plenty of clay up north. That's not a problem. And blaze powder. And you need to repeat this recipe 9 times in order to have enough to make a blast furnace. And the goal of all of this ultimately is to get a crusher in operation so that I can crush up all the ores I have without going through a whole bunch of crushing hammers. Yep. So that means I need steel. So here's one of the donkeys that's common in this area. Here's another bridge that I wound up building. The problem I ran into is here, whoops, I am standing on this bridge here. And as you can see, this is a pretty big-ish continent, which doesn't actually have any resources that allows me to make a boat. Can't make boats in Brunel. You can make rafts, but not boats, except for the Moar Boats, which requires aluminum. And I did find some aluminum down here, but I didn't have the tools to process it. And I was thinking, okay, well, easy enough. I'll make one of those crushing hammers. The problem I ran into, crushing hammer recipe, that, string. Spiders don't drop string. They drop lots of eyeballs, and they can actually drop some crab meat, so spider meat, but they don't drop string anymore. So I couldn't actually find any string. And now that I'm thinking about it, you know what I should have done? I should have come right over here and harvested that string. So it would have saved me a ton of trouble. Well, anyway, I failed to think of it, and what I wound up doing is riding all around to different villages looking for string-producing plants. So flax or cotton or any of those similar kinds of things. I was looking around for sheep, but I didn't find any of those because they only spawn in Tegia for us. And as you can see, there are no Tegia for us on this little continent that I was able to discover. Suffice to say, I was also not successful in finding any string plants. So what I wound up doing is taking my donkey and just riding him all the way up to this point. So he's waiting right here. So I'm going to head over there. Be back in just a moment. So worth pointing out, as I was exploring, until I ran out of materials, I was building these nice little bridges for myself as I went along. So now I've got quite a few of them scattered all around. I happen to use birch for obvious reasons. But this was the last of my cobblestone. So from this point forward, what I would do is dismount and push my donkey across the stream and then remount on the other side. So let's go find him. Here we are, found my little donkey at last. One nice thing is I do have a mod installed. I don't remember the name of it, but it adds this little display in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, which shows you the actual data about any horse that you're looking at. So after using this a bunch and kind of comparing all the different donkeys that I ran across in the mesa biomes, I was able to figure out that this was my best bet as far as being the fastest. In any case, if you shift right click on them, you can see I've got a saddle that I had found in some loot chest somewhere or another. Haven't installed the chest on him yet, but I'll get there eventually. So from all of that exploring donkey back, I was able to uncover these couple of different villages and all of this territory, and wound up finding that this is the nearest point I could get to the rest of my continent. Certainly the nearest point I could get to my home base. So from here, I left my poor donkey behind, got on a raft, and headed across and up and around through this river system, and then finally through this river system to make my way back to my home base. So I'm going to head back there now. And here we are. So some of the cool stuff I found, I had mentioned I found the glowstone, found some loose aluminum, copper, invar, nickel ingots in various mine carts. Same thing with an iron crowbar. I told you about my blaze fight. I think that was another one that was in a chest someplace. A lot of these were. Lots of rail that I dug up from abandoned mine shafts. A lot of soybean, kiwi, bell pepper, all sorts of different seeds. From villages, I found some vanilla bean growing at the tops of the mesa plateaus. I ran out of food at one point, was starving to death, so I actually went after some squids, and I was mostly after the food that they drop, the calamari, but hey, free ink, not bad. Lots more seeds and lots of cargo carts and work carts and chest carts and all sorts of different things. Plus a few scraps of armor and a couple of spike malls. So not a bad haul for wandering around. Oh, in one of the villages, I noticed that Endermen were spawning. So in this mod pack, Endermen only spawn in the hour surrounding midnight every night. And they can spawn anywhere, and they usually show up in pairs. So I found myself in a village, which was very convenient because I could hide in one of the huts, which are too little for the Endermen to enter. So I angered the Endermen by peering at them, and then they came after me, and I was able to kill them from a sheltered location inside one of these huts. And there's my bauxite, which will turn into aluminum, and that should make it so that I can make that darn boat and go fetch my donkey and bring him back here. So that's pretty much all of my adventures lately. Next up, I will be making those boats, fetching my donkey, building the storage drawers controller, and hopefully finishing off this workshop, which will enable me to then get into making the big machinery for making steel and getting into the industrial age. So that's it. Talk to you later.